Oh, no.
We will call this meeting to order. Regular city council meeting, City of Dalhart, Monday, October 24th. First item on the agenda is the prayer. If y'all would please bow your heads with me. Lord, I thank you for the opportunity to gather tonight. Lord, I pray that you give us clear minds, Lord, and pray that you help us, Lord, to make the best decisions for our community. Lord, I pray that you be with our first responders, Lord, that are watching over us and protecting us, Lord. Pray that you be with our soldiers, Lord, that are fighting for our freedoms each and every day. Lord, I thank you for the moisture and the change of the season, Lord, and I just ask that you just give blessings upon all of us, Lord. And these things I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, please stand as we recite the pledge to the United States and Texas flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America. Allegiance to the one state under God. And
better. Next item on the agenda is a consent agenda consisting of minutes from the October 11th, 2022 regular meeting.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 1, public comments. Guy and Pecos winner.
I think come up or just.
Yes, please.
Do. Never done this.
Appreciate you coming.
Yeah. Pecos just asked me, and I guess y'all have a deal about grazing horses on the lake. We'd kind of like to look into leasing the lake pasture. And I guess there's something with bylaws or something about grazing horses. I mean, if we leased it, we would want to graze horses down there. On the effects of grazing horses, I mean, I've run horses all my life, and as long as you don't overgraze. Same way with cattle. If you overgraze with cattle, you're going to run a pasture. If you overgraze with horses, you're going to run a pasture. Horses will run about the same as a cow per head, you know, and actually, you know, there's some concern that because they have upper and lower incisors that they'll actually rip the grass. Well, actually, they'll cut the grass more than rip it. Cattle will rip more grass than horses, actually. In my opinion, I mean, and it's been, and I think Pecos sent some stuff that kind of said that too, some articles and stuff. Another thing that would be a beneficial is there's a lot of tall grasses down there that cattle won't eat, horses will eat. They'll clean up a little better. And then just as far as just the ambiance of having horses out on that pasture would just be, I mean, I would think people would really like that too, and everything. We would not want, I mean, we'd just go with the stocking rate or whatever y'all said or whatever, if we, you know, if we were to lease it. But I guess the only way we'd even be able to maybe lease it is if y'all changed the ruling or whatever it is, you know, the bylaws or whatever. But I guess just ask me if I'd talk to y'all about kind of about horses. And I mean, do y'all have any questions or anything? I mean, nothing. That's pretty much all I got, really. I mean, you know, he's needing some places to run some bucking horses, and they would be bucking horses. I mean, if we, you know, so, and that's pretty much what I got.
Thank you.
Ask that y'all change.
Appreciate you very much. Next for public comments, Jerome Wheeler.
Hello, City Council members. Today, I choose to come before you to address the city employee. The city employee has been the main character in numerous harassment complaints, not only from me and my family, but many members of this community. And as a member of this community, we feel like we have not been heard. How many complaints will it take until something is done with this employee? She is held, and then she is held accountable for her actions. This employee that I speak of is Rosie Ritter. She is a problem in the city's infrastructure. This community should be able to confide and trust city employees. But when you give someone like Rosie the power and control to harass people, it gives this community reason not to trust and believe in this beautiful city. Very briefly, I will let you know the situation at hand. Recently, we have received a false code violation. My wife tried to talk to Rosie about this and see where the violation stood. Rosie was rude and would not give her the time of day, nor would she let my wife talk. Instead, she said she would see us in court. Now, why should I have to hire a lawyer to defend myself against a lie from this employee? If I don't, my options are to pay a fine for something I didn't do. Does that seem right and just in your eyes? My first thought in coming before you today was to let you know all of the harassment that Rosie has unloaded on my family. But in second thought, that is no longer my intentions. Instead, I choose to come to you and for all of the citizens of Dalhart that are having the same issue as my family is having. My questions for the council to reflect on are these. Where do we draw the line on abuse of power? When do we start holding city employees accountable for their mistakes? Do we have a check and balance system within the code department, or is it strictly one person writing citations and violations with no one double checking these? Why do taxpayers and citizens not get to see the proof of these violations against them? Instead, we are to take the word of an untimestamped photo as our proof. And lastly, where does the city stand on this employees harassing its citizens? And how far will this have to go before the city takes a stand? As that, you take this into consideration and reflect on what we can do to restore the trust of the city that this city once held for its code department. Thank you for your city council.
Thank you, Joel. Item number 2, discuss and or act upon mountain bike trails. Trevor?
All right, y'all, thanks for having me. I don't know if I'm supposed to
Thanks for coming.
read this or what. Do y'all have the letter I sent, or do you want me to read
You
it?
got everything. Is there any, essentially, if approved, trails will be maintained better, and if denied, that they'll remain the same condition. Is there any comments or questions from council?
I just had the question, excuse me, of the 17 miles. Where that is, where is it laid out?
His question is, he's wondering about the 17 miles of trail.
So most people aren't aware that there are so many trails up on the south side. So these aren't the walking path trails down below. These are trails up on the south side. And there's currently the loop that a lot of guys ride is 14 miles that goes all the way down by the bridge and loops around. But the 17 miles per se would be mainly just maintaining what's there and improving the washouts and some things along it. So there's actually, I would say if you combined all the trails that are currently there, there's probably 20 or 30 miles that they just loop around, Most of them are, some of them are cow trails, some of them are trails that were made. I'm thinking I'd heard that maybe used to, you could ride dirt bikes and stuff way back in the good old days, right? Yeah. So I think some of them were made back then. And really they're just, there's people that run up there, but they're mainly bike trails, and people will walk when they're, I guess, safe. As we all know, there's a lot of snakes in the canyon, and a lot of these trails get overgrown so much you can't even see the trail. So that's a lot of what we're wanting to do. The first thing, if y'all were to approve it, it would just be taking a 0-turn mower out there and just driving down the trail and mowing the weeds. Some of them are all this podium about. So we'd just like to clean them up where it's safe and usable. There's a lot of trail we don't even currently ride now that's already there just because it's not usable.
What are y'all thinking on private funds? How much is going to go into this project, do you think?
So between the people that I've talked to already, I think we've raised we have committed somewhere between 20 and 30,000. And then we have a donor that's also committed to making a trailhead system if y'all were to approve that. So a lot of, I think the underuse of the trails is because people are intimidated. They don't know, is this just a cow trail that's been here since the XIT days, or is this an actual trail? And so we'd like to improve on that by making a trailhead system and having some sort of kiosk maybe at the pavilion down there, and then some markers out along the trail, because there's some beautiful spots that I think the citizens of Dalhart don't get to see because they don't really know where to go. And so we have someone that would like to invest into that if this is all proposed to make a trailhead system also. So
I have another question. Would you like to see it being a designated trail path or trail area like it's designated down by the lake, the walking path, to make it more accessible to public use? It's not, but I guess what I'm saying, people don't know what's there.
yeah. I mean, I would say most people, if you pulled them in this room, they probably have no idea what I'm talking about if they haven't been up on that south side, because there's really nothing up there except those trails. It's just pasture land. So, I mean, I think the use would be, there'd be a lot more local use. And then also, so we're working with Chris Podzimini, and he's with Six Pack Outdoors out of Amarillo. And we've talked with him about some different ideas and things. And that's a nonprofit funded by the Farley Group. And he goes around to communities and helps them with this exact type of thing, so that way they can build trails that are maintainable and build them in a correct way, for drainage and different things like that. And so he claims that the amount of traffic through Dalhart of people that would stop and even come here as a destination to use these trails he said it would blow our minds. And he used the Borger as an example. So they had a similar type project where somebody had they raised some money and people had put some money into those trails, and there's several people that go just to use those trails. And so he was the one that there was a bike race here probably a month ago there in the canyon, and he was the one, his group put that on. And actually, while we were out there riding, we came across several people, and you just kind of talk people out there, and they were from Colorado, there's people from New Mexico that had just come to ride the trail before the race, and they had all commented that they couldn't believe how much area we have and how many trails we have out there, but also commented on the condition, just because they're if they don't get ridden a lot and they don't get maintained, I mean, they just, like anything, they get pretty washed out and beat up. So
Once again, the individual you're speaking of, that would be basically look at environmental impact.
yes, sir. So yeah, a lot of that. So he's actually a former employee of TCQ, and so he's very familiar with a lot of erosion type techniques, but he's also would consider himself, I think he's certified in something or another. So I mean, if it was approved, we wanted to, like I say, do the best we could to maintain things, because when we're spending private money of that magnitude, we want to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck. So
Thank you.
So just with something else on the agenda down here that we're going to talk about, would different types of livestock change what y'all are wanting to do out there, you think?
Possibly. So I would say there's obviously some damage done already to the markers, the current marker system out there. I mean, it's almost non-existent now. I mean, most of them. And so a lot of the ideas we had, if we were able to proceed, were coming up with some sort of, steel laser cutout, something with made out of pipe or something like that couldn't be tore up. But livestock definitely affect the trails quality, I guess, especially when it gets wet. They can definitely tear up the trails, because they, animals like to go on the same path and go down the trails. And so yeah, they definitely affect it negatively. I know grazing the canyon's part of it, and that's what keeps the grass down, and things like that. And so we totally understand that. So, but as far as like horses and cattle, I'm not an expert by any means on that. But based off of my horse pasture behind my house, I mean, they're definitely larger animals with bigger hooves, and I mean, I think they would do a little more damage to the trails, but like I say, I'm not an expert on that by any means, so.
Michael, I know you ride down there, are used to a lot. What's your thoughts on this program?
It's a major opportunity. It is a pretty rare piece of ground. It's a point of history, all mountain bike and running trails on public lands are created by users and maintained by users. And this would be no different. And what's there is no different. You know, it was created by primarily one person and maintained by users. And that's what we're wanting to do going forward. It would be a major, I think a lot of people would stop. The person they're proposing to build it has built and maintained most of the trails in all of the Panhandle. For example, Paladuro Canyon. You would think that Texas Parks and Wildlife or someone maybe built the trails that draw all the people to that, and that is not the fact. It was trail runners that built all those trails. And trail runners and bikers that still maintain them and not any state employee whatsoever. So is it normal? Yeah, this is how it's done. And this is how it has been done in the past. It would be very beneficial. This particular person, I've ridden every trail he's built, and he's very keen on erosion. The less you pay attention to that, the more you have to rebuild. He's very, very, very good at it. And it would be a really good choice. And at no cost for the city and completely separate from the jogging trails that exist at our city maintained. The last one I'd like to chime in on is horses do something to trails called post holing. And when a horse walks say it rains a little like today, when a horse walks down the gravel jogging path that the city does maintain, it'll be 60 days to so horses post hole and create long-term damage to trails. And in most, different from cattle maintain the trail. Because as Trevor mentioned, they do walk the same paths every day. So the first day it rains, cattle will walk down it and it will look bad. Tomorrow they'll walk down it again. And the third day they walk down it again, it's perfectly groomed. And the shape of their foot and the weight distribution, the size of the animal, whatever it is, they're not a detriment. In fact, I think cattle are kind of required to maintain that environment out there. Long story short, I can't see a downside. It's going to draw people and it won't cost the city any money. It's reputable, not only the reputable person that they are proposing to bring, but all of us that ride bikes are out there with a hoe and a weed or anyway, you know, it's just part of it. I mean, it's just a wonderful path to ride. Well, I can't see a downside.
Thank you.
I have one more question.
Yes.
This could be considered a long-term project. You have a term, this not just 1 year, and it's a long-term plan for the.
So yes, sir. Yeah. So maintenance is an ongoing thing. Like he was saying, erosion is huge. Building them the right way is huge because it just creates less work for us. But just the work that we did for that race, I mean, a lot of it was literally with hose and rakes. And I mean, that's just how you make it, you know, in the best shape. And so as far as that goes, I mean, the maintenance is long-term, my hope is for the trail system, with the trailheads and making more better accessible trails, that we'll get a stronger community in Dalhart of people doing that. And so then that turns into more volunteers and more people wanting to go out.
Carry on.
Yes, sir.
Question that's a long-term commitment for this project.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I guess going with that is even if people move and people come and go, there becomes more people involved in the biking community in Dalhart, then I think we'll have more volunteers for the long-term maintenance, but it's definitely I see the support of it. Absolutely. So.
Thank you.
I think it's a win-win for Dalhart. If there's any other discussion, otherwise I'd entertain a motion.
So moved. Second that motion.
All in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? Thank you, Trevor.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate you.
Item number 3, review and act upon deed from City of Dalhart to the Dalhart County Hospital District. Stacy and I met with Kevin and Jeff, and Greg, last week on these land transfers and, as far as I'm concerned, I think we've got all the legality parts worked out, or are we still on board with that, Greg?
So we've got right of way access to the land back behind there.
That's in the back at,
Okay,
he's in the left.
for a road to get back there.
That's in
We've
there.
got
I'm
right away access to
I'm-
get back there and maintain our lift
Okay.
station.
lift station,
Yes.
But not
but not
from down.
if we decide to do something with that land besides just have it sit there. Does that make sense? Road?
Would that be
Am
that?
I not looking at this map correctly?
So the city has access. So right here, when we met with Dennis, we have access down here to get to where we need to go. And this. Sorry. This is where the lift station is. And from here to here is city property. So we have what we need. Yeah. What we did in here, the documents that you have are all there's 2 water easements and a sewer easement. And those, when we all sat, we worked all that out. And then when we met with Public Works Director, we had a plan for how we would get around everything. So we were okay.
Or what about the gas with a question mark on it?
We
Gas,
don't do gas.
but it just,
So they'll work that out.
on the map, it says gas question mark, so.
Those
I
are,
think that was more for them guys.
Yes.
That didn't pertain to us any. I don't know if they knew if West Texas Gas was gonna be a part of that or who it was.
And it's just.
Sure.
yeah, they were just working out the.
They would have to get an easement or what they.
Water, electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to fill
Now,
out.
where's the road? Where were you speaking?
Right there. It's on the lift station.
Just it's Brinkman Road.
Yes, but going from Brinkman over to that lake road over there, is there a road down there from it?
So we have access this way.
Mhm.
So
And they're
city can
loaded.
go over this way. Yeah, because this is city property back here.
No, I know, but it's a maintained road, just like the one up north to get to this.
There's not a road there, is there?
I mean, there's access to what we need to get to.
We could
We're not,
Make a road, you know,
Eventually.
Yeah.
essentially by driving on it. If we needed to gain access to it.
Okay, and what does it do in relationship to the shooting range?
That I can't answer.
yeah, I can't answer that one.
Shooting range, I mean, I have never been to it, I don't know.
So the shooting range,
Same road,
you keep going straight past there.
so you have to go down like that and shoot up.
It's not combined.
It's way on south.
For the duck hunters, huh?
Yeah.
So the closure of that upper road, upper access to Frank Phillips or the EDC property would not
It's count, what is it?
not impact it whatsoever.
Brinkman Road, and you just keep on Brinkman.
You okay, Berto?
Another question, has the relocation of the motorcycle track been considered yet? That was part of the discussion on this. That this will be taken away where they ride and the noise.
It's been considered, but it has not been discussed.
Okay. I wondering how that was going to be handled. Anybody else need to see these?
Greg, you want those papers?
You might want to keep them.
There's no further discussion. I'll have to entertain a motion to approve a deed from the city of Dalhart to Dalhart County's Hospital District.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed? Item number 4, review and act upon deed from Dalhart Education Foundation Dalhart County's hospital district. Again, I think the same concerns and questions will pertain.
There was one that we were discussing, as we have the affidavit stating the easement layout. Is that attached to the deed? Because on the deed it says known and unknown. How do we know that future use of it is public knowledge or accessible to actions in the future?
Can you answer that, Greg?
I think basically, Dwayne, the best way I can do that is give you that to look at. I can go over it with you later on.
Yeah, but you had said at one time, in the conversation, that sometimes we attach something to the deed on file stating.
The easements are separate documents than the deeds. There are 3 deeds, which helps say where the property is located as far as the education foundation, hospital district, and then obviously the city. And 3 additional documents are easements,
And that is filed.
and that they will be filed, all 6 of them.
Tomorrow, correct? If it's sold.
Yeah,
It's
So
approved.
they will be on file so that we have paper trail to go back to if an issue comes up.
yeah.
That will be on file in Channing, correct?
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Item number 4.
You enact, did you? Oh, yeah, you fixed them.
If no other discussion, I'd entertain a motion to approve the deed, Dalhart Education Foundation, the Dalhart County Hospital District.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 5, review and act upon deed from the city of Dalhart to the Dalhart Education Foundation Incorporated. Again, I think same pertains to all 3. If there's no other concern or comments, I'd like to entertain a motion. Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So now they can get started. This is all that we're doing on.
As of tomorrow, we'll file it with the county in Channing, correct?
Correct.
And then at
And
that
it all
point,
gets to be built.
it's on them from here on out.
Correct. We'll move now to the financing stage of this. And then we'll be ready to break ground and get started, I think, the next 60 days or so.
Maybe it'll still be moist when it's out.
I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the hospital district and really the citizens of all the communities that are involved in the hospital district for your consideration of this. And I think all of our I's have been dotted and our T's crossed, and Stacy's been a great help, and Greg and the mayor and Jeff from the Education Foundation. And I think we've really something we'll be proud of for a long, long time.
I'm excited for Dalhart for this. This is great. Thank you, guys. Item number 6, discuss and or act upon Texas Forestry Service grant for fire truck.
I'm Robert Gordon, Assistant Fire Chief, and we want to just go ahead right now and say we thank y'all for all the support and prayers through all this hard time that we went through with this, but we're ready to move forward. We just got to keep on going. That's what Curtis would want for us all, and I think he's up there still working on us because here just recently we were just awarded the Texas Forestry grant for a new kind of a brush truck type deal, but we're trying to get it for it'll be a rescue pumper is what we're trying to work on right now to get so we can change out one of our old pumpers and our rescue unit that's kind of out of date right now. And we were like 5 behind from getting that grant. And after all this happened to Curtis, it's like he stepped it up and got us up on #1 and got it done. So our grant is for $240,000. And I know Mario touched this, Stacy, and somebody else, and we have $100,000 city budget for that. And the other night we voted on spending another around 33,000 out of our own department to help furnish for a new truck. we have two new trucks that we're looking at. I haven't really seen the second one right now, but the first one was around, I think, 370.
Mhm.
373,000. And it's already fully loaded, already has all the tools and everything, hoses and everything that we need. I mean, as soon as it gets here, we can almost put it in service as soon as we get it labeled and stuff, or if they label it for us there.
I saw it's an international. Is it gonna be four-wheel drive?
One of them is four-wheel drive, but I haven't looked at that one. But the one we're kind of looking at right now is just two-wheel drive as of right now. And we kind of, before Curtis passed, me and him sat down, we talked long and hard on this, that our other rescue units just two-wheel drive.
Right.
Dually, and if we ever need to go down a dirt road, we really don't need to take that muddy dirt road. We really don't need to take that new pumper down there anyways.
Exactly.
We have one of our first out trucks on wrecks and stuff. It has tools and what we need on it already. We can take it down. So it'd be nice to have four-wheel drive, but that's a lot more money if we start going that route.
No. Any other discussion on item number 6? I'd entertain a motion to accept the Texas Forestry Service grant for a new fire truck.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Berto, very much.
Oh, thank y'all
Appreciate all you guys.
for everything.
Yes, sir. Item number 7, discuss and or act upon resuming consideration of tabled item for lease agreement with No Gotti Landing Company LLC on the October 11th, 2022 regular meeting agenda.
They're at TCFA tonight, so they are not in attendance. But,
I make a motion that we open up discussion for.
okay, there we go. Sorry.
I'll second that. Remove from table that item. Now go. You have to open up number 8 now. We have to vote on it.
Sorry.
We have to vote on removing it from table.
All there.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm good. So we're opening up number 8 now.
So item number 8, discuss and act upon recommendation from Airport Advisory Board for ground lease with No Gotti Landing Company LLC.
Okay, so they are at TCFA this week. So they're not in attendance tonight. But they want me to talk about it. The survey company is behind. They're supposed to be here this last week. Did not show again. But they were gonna see if we can move forward with the lease. It's already all staked off and everything. There's just not an official bounds and leaps and everything described. So they were wanting to see if we can move forward with the lease and put in the lease terms, not sign it until, how would we word that? Sorry.
So are you trying to reserve their space?
Exactly.
Okay, so I think that's what Parker's trying to do is reserve their space. So if someone else were to come and were interested in this space, it's already under discussion. So if it fell through, then someone could come out and ask about the lease. But at this point, you're almost wanting to hold it until we get all the documents.
Yes.
Because we haven't gotten the survey and we haven't gotten the plans, right? The 2 items.
The plans were presented to airport board. Did y'all not get those?
No, I tried to call Trent Friday, but I never could get the plans.
Okay.
So the plans and the survey are the 2 items that we haven't received yet, but I think that's what you're looking for. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
Is that you're looking for almost a hold to be placed on it. So it's in discussion, not up for anybody else to come in and lease.
Can we approve a contingent upon documentation moving forward? Or do we need to-
Contingent upon a lease or a survey.
Are you comfortable with that, Greg?
Let's just make sure we make everything subject to that passing so that we know it's done. Yeah, I think you could.
Okay, that way we don't have to vote on it again, correct?
This is an 18-year lease.
18 years and 2 months.
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you have a city lease of over 5 years, you have that 30-day grace period to the public to address that lease if they so inclined. So what I'm bringing that up for, that will not be able to start construction is until after that period. Is that not?
I think again, by approving it contingent upon if we wait until we get all the documentation and the lease agreement, then we're another 30 days out before they can start.
So you could go, in my opinion, you could go ahead and do that and go ahead and issue the lease under the contingency. And then there would still be that time frame that the airport board could react if it wasn't in compliance. So it would just, we could just do the lease and follow up on it in another way if the airport board so decided.
I think we're on the same page.
Yep.
No.
Just the right word. That's all we need.
So would you make that motion?
I'll make the motion in relationship to approving the lease at this time with contingencies of the follow-up on the paperwork with the understanding is 30 days action. So that pretty well covered the base.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9, discuss and or act upon a request by the city of Dalhart to go out for bid on approximately 1,386 acres of land situated in Hartley County, Texas, for the grazing of livestock. I guess we're revisiting this because of the new information we have pertaining to the horses. Is there any discussion or?
In relationship and the information that we received from the city manager in relationship, the biggest thing that comes out on this is the pasture management. The 1,300 acres is not in a position to have proper pasture management. And so they have to have the access to it. So the horses are a different makeup animal, and the other animals that could be under an open livestock situation, it could be sheep, goats, anything in the world based upon the lease. And then in the consideration of that, with the possibility of land damage and not having the ability to properly maintain the pasture, we would almost have to have a rehabilitation. And so in relationship to that, we would have to also have really need more money for the possibility of reclamation. And so if with the consideration of the other property out there, that would be, would also go into place of the work that the mountain bikes are doing for the reclamation of damage to their property.
Makes sense.
It just opens up a lot. Now, is in relationship, do we want to act upon and go out for bid? We could go out for bid on that thing, but it would be the consideration that it's going to have a pretty good cost attached to it, or could possibly. Am I thinking correctly there? And because we have to take all those things into consideration.
So you're saying if we choose to allow horses, we need to increase the price per acre, correct? Because it's going to require more
in the
maintenance.
terminology of the agenda item, livestock. So whatever livestock, in that consideration of the nature of the animal that could be placed on that property, horses require a better fencing system than cows do. You also have the back concerns of coming up here is that we got bike riders out there now in the future. We've had it in the past, we have in the future. Some animals like to chase them. I mean, they go after them.
I can only speak for myself. I've ridden out there many times and I've not ever had that issue.
Well, but you get another type animal under the livestock clause.
Sure.
You know,
So if it comes down to it, then there was no horses in this to be allowed. And it wouldn't change anything. Everything could stay the same.
Right.
And then with the recommendation or taking information we received from Dr. Aitz a while ago that, they're gonna put all this time and effort and money into the trails. If the horses do cause more damage to the cattle.
The basic discussion is if we want to go out for bid, allowing livestock
Well,
with the consideration of,
it specifically says no horses. I mean, that's what we had on here said no horses and the decision was made to go ahead and go out to bid, but it was keeping the horses off of it.
but this on
So with the new information, I don't know, been around horses all of my life until I got married, which was a long time ago. And I didn't realize that they did more damage and that it makes sense, but all of mine were always out in the pasture.
the damage.
So ultimately, getting some livestock out there to maintain and get that grass down. I mean, we get that tall grass, fire hazard. That's pretty close to town. I don't think we want that. So we need to do something with it, but
So if I'm seeing this right, we really need to have an addendum that changes to allowing horses
yes.
on the bid, or we need to leave it like it is and vote to go out for bid.
You could go two ways. You could do it so we could almost have two bids going out, one for cattle and then one for livestock. And then you could see which one you wanted to go with, or you could do the livestock one, which would be an umbrella.
When you say livestock, you include in that goats and sheep
Mhm.
stuff. And you talk about fencing, there ain't no fence out there to hold no goat and sheep in.
That's exactly
And
right.
stuff. And you talk about your keeping of the land and stuff, maintaining it where you can control the grazing factor and stuff, there's gotta be cross fences and stuff put in there. So you can do that. So you're looking at a cost prohibitive thing in some ways, especially the way that land lays up and down and around.
Mhm.
And then you do with your bicycle trail, you can't have that stuff to do.
And Mayor, I believe that's what the consideration is.
The thing with the horses and stuff, the only damage that I see that it would be to the bicycle trail when it's muddy. The thing of it is, as far as horses are concerned and people walking and riding a bicycle or something, they're less apt to cause an issue with those people than what cattle will, because people naturally get scared of something when there's no need, and they're not a bear or mountain lion. They're not gonna eat you and stuff to do. So I don't have an issue with horses being out there at all.
Who's responsible for an accident that happens out there? If a cow stomped me on that trail, who's responsible? A cow
Yeah.
attacked me on that trail. Who's-
There's always an issue about the responsibility the city's gonna have.
Right.
That's just gonna be something we've lived with and will continue.
Once again, the biggest concern is pasture management, and frankly, I don't know that we have the right to put cross fences there on that property out there, or containment, and then you have the water access, but that is the biggest question that all of these are proven in the documentation that we received and other research into it is the key to proper pasturing with the animals in charge is proper pasture management. And somebody would have to go out there and see if they're congregating in this area doing damage, they've got to be moved when the grass is gone and the vegetation is gone. And the comment about if the horses they eat everything. Our goats, sheep, whatever's out there will eat everything. We're cows and we're selective, but it is still the key point of it is if we move to go out for bid for grazing of livestock, consideration has to be the financial and relationship proper pasture management.
Well, can we table this until we can have further discussion and more direction from council as to what we're really wanting?
What more information can we
I
provide?
mean, it sounds like we need to decide if we want to continue on with cows or if we want to allow horses.
Another point that I would like to make, which is what Stacy was saying there, in relationship to doing them concurrently together. Okay, and the bids would be placed at a particular time. They would be opened at the same time. But it is at the discretion of the council how are not mandated to take the highest bid. We have to base our acceptance of the contract in relationship to the well-being of the citizens of the population of Dalhart. So that's what we're kind of looking at is go out and with all of the consideration, you have the same track, and then we have to make the decision at that time. What is in the best interest of the city.
But all of that's doing is kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
Are you able to take comment from the floor?
Yes, please.
So, speaking to Frankie's comment, they only damage the bike trail, they also damage the city maintained jogging trail considerably. Because from time to time, a local person riding a horse will ride down that city maintained caliche, and it is months, one horse, months healing it by wind erosion and so forth. Also, the Lake Rita Blanca Park policy is set by the lake board. You know, so policy changes aren't a city council thing. I mean, it's a lake board thing. And as per the bylaws from the lake board, that is the discussion to be had in the lake board and not in city council. Okay. So, and by according to the way it's written in the bylaws.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to speak as far as like you were saying about the fences for horses versus cattle. I mean, I've run horses forever. I run all my horses at my house behind a 3-wire fence, barbed wire fence. The fences that I run my horses for aren't near as strong as what you'd have to have for cattle. If you run cattle behind the fence, I run my horses behind, you'd have cattle out all the time. As far as the grazing, taking care of the grazing management on that pasture, we're looking at running 30 to 35 head of horses on 1,400 acres. That's roughly 40 acres of or a horse. There, as far as every person that I've talked to that is an expert on that there should be no reason why that should ever cause problems with your grass or anything as far as that.
So you're saying that wouldn't be overgrazing?
No, sir.
Oh, okay.
No, sir. That would not be overgrazing at 40 acres a horse.
Thank you.
Ask a question of Dr. Asa. What is under the Rita Blanca bylaws, what does it state about horses being
That's
on the property? Did it say that?
that they sent in the last agenda
Oh, that's
packet.
our lease.
That's,
Bylaws.
yeah, I'm just wanting to know what their trail, like, can you expand on that, what that says?
Don't have the previous minutes describing the rules on how the property is to be grazed. But in the founding, in the bylaws, it does say that's the decision of the lake board. And so I don't have the minutes.
Well, for like are you asking recreational purposes?
Yeah,
Grazing.
well, I guess just to be clear, my train of thought is going with, if this is not an item that should be for council consideration, is it the lease as a whole? Or is it that the consideration, if we put it out for lease, is the stipulations of what is going to be grazed out there or what the use for is under the Rita Blanca Lake Board? Just to clarify in my mind, is this a city issue or is this a Rita Blanca Lake Board issue?
It has been a lake board issue. That's who takes the bids, and we see that in the financial and Is it a lake board or a city issue? I think it's a lake board issue. Majority vote is required for decision making. I do think it is a lake board issue as the board member.
Doesn't it come to us?
And the purpose,
These results?
you know, what is the purpose of that property? It is for recreation. And grazing is a additional revenue source, but it has to be beneficial. And grazing cattle is beneficial on that property.
So
We have to put the good of many, many users and the, you know, maintain the integrity of the.
I guess my ultimate concern with it is that the lease has always been carried through the city. And that, I guess that's why
The city is the only one can do a lease on the property.
Bo, do we have a recommendation from the lake board
about how it's.
of how we should vote?
Basically, I think what he's saying is we need to kick it back to the lake board and
Policy,
they make that recommendation and it.
recommendation, policy change before the city council for us to approve the recommendation or not approve the recommendation.
I would make a motion that we accept to be able to take this out for bid with the current stipulations that we already have for the land use under that lease that we were provided with at the last council session that does, I know he has it up and I don't know what. For cattle.
Yeah.
For cattle, yeah. And my basis for that is just that I know we need to maintain that ground. So we're not having fire danger. So we get that land cleaned off, but also that we can also appease for trail usage and damage control. That's the reasons why I would make that motion for the cattle, for the 1,386 acres of land situated in Hartley County.
So your recommendation is to proceed on the agenda item in play.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
You're opposed? Okay. Item number 10, discussion of future agenda items for city council.
I would like to request update all city maps, utility lines, city maps, phone maps, and the consideration of the board map. We need to do an update on all maps to bring it into place
Okay.
in the future. And I don't know if that would have to be through the council recommendation, but I would like to be discussed, updating and refreshing all of the city maps.
Right. Anything else? Item number 11, comments from city manager and department heads.
So at this time, the police department, in conjunction with the fire department and the Dalhart Rotary Club, they're doing a food drive that will end November 10th. They're collecting at City Hall and the police department. We have hired a new human resources manager, Sarah Garina. She joined us late last week, so she just started. And we have also made an offer for a new economic development director. Offer is still pending. We should have paperwork finalized this week. Then we will announce who was chosen. And then we have recently learned that Dalhart did not receive Main Street designation through the Texas Historical Commission.
We'll reapply.
What does that do with the situation at hand today? Is it just continue? Is all of the funding and all still in place, stays in place for the historical Main Street?
So we weren't going to receive funding from the state, regardless of whether we were chosen, but where funding has been budgeted right now is confirmed to stay budgeted.
So that, so whoever comes up in relationship to going forward with that in preparation for next year, we're in place to be able to continue that.
Yes.
Okay.
There's gap year funding, that's correct.
Your term.
So on the food drive, is that taking food donations or monetary donations also? Both.
The police department I know will take monetary donations, but they're also accepting non-perishables.
Was this still in conjunction with Lincoln Street Baptist?
If you have perishables, you can take them straight to the church, so they'll take them in over there.
That's it.
I mean, you got anything else?
No, sir.
Anybody else? Earl?
Well, a bunch of our fire department personnel are here. I'd like to kind of recognize them, if y'all don't mind.
Not at all.
Kind of meet them. Like I said before, I'm the assistant chief, second assistant chief, Tommy Chisholm, first captain Ryan Beatty, second captain Jonathan Anderson, and y'all know Jones, he's our certification coordinator. Shiloh Watts is our president. Lucretia Roush is our secretary. I want to say police officer. And Corbin Raymond is our new treasurer. Stuff, and then I'm not gonna name all y'all's names, but the rest of y'all, if y'all want to stand up, it's the rest of our fire department.
We appreciate the service you guys provide. It's just. Seriously, when we're home with our families, having dinner, you guys are out, rescuing people and fighting fires. And so on behalf of the city, thank you all very, very much for your service.
And
Guys,
Mario, he's the new fire chief as of right now. He just had shoulder surgery and he just found out that he has a damaged nerve in his eye and it keeps making him dizzy and kind of sick. So I kind of had to walk him out, but he wanted to apologize that he couldn't stay. So he's kind of on standby for right now. So
again, we appreciate you guys very, very much.
thank y'all.
For sure. Anything else?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?